co-founder, Eran Ofir. Following the presentation, there'll be a breakout in the Fillmore room.
Hi everyone, my name is Eran. I'm CEO and co-founder of Somatix. So Somatix is a digital health company that is doing big data analytics based on wearable devices. We invented an algorithm in which we take the raw data from any type of smartwatch or wristband, and we detect in real time the gesture that the person is doing, basically using the data that we collect from the sensors. Basically, it's all passive. So the user don't need to do anything, they don't need to record the gesture. We collect the data, we do the analysis in real time of what is the gesture that the person is doing. We can tell if a person is eating, drinking hot or cold, smoking, brushing his teeth, shaving, and so on, taking medication, and all by the data that we collect from any type of smartwatch or wristband. This is how it works. Basically, we collect the data. Once we understand the gesture, we start communicating with our cloud-based servers in order to gain insights and to generate predictive analytics about the behavior of that specific person. Once we have it, we start applying behavioral modification techniques. And the way that we do it, we have developed a behavioral modification mechanism that we call SERF, social, emotional, rational, and financial, in which we apply 4 different types of incentives on a person through an app. And then we understand the response of that person to the different types of incentives that we're applying. From that, we build in our cloud-based servers psychological model of that individual. And once we have it, we start playing with the dosages of the incentives that we provide in order to get behavioral modification. Now, and this is basically how it works, because eventually we are getting to interventions. The physicians, the clinicians that we work with, get to the ability to provide interventions based on the context of what a person is doing in real time. So, as you can see, many different types of gestures that we can track, and again, it goes on and on, basically, with the new sensors that are getting into commercial off-the-shelf smartwatches and wristbands. It works on any type, basically, for operating system. It could be Android, it could be iOS, it could be Tizen, and so on. It doesn't really matter as long as we can get the data, the raw data, not the processed data from the API, but the raw data of the sensors. So the system has 3 components. One is the gesture detection. The other one is the deep machine learning. Basically, we process something like 500,000 data records per person per day that we are then using in order to generate, to gain the insights and to generate the predictive analytics. And then the third component is the behavioral modification search engine that is based on CBT. Because what we've done with all the professors that we work with, Northwestern, Yale, UPenn, Mount Sinai, Tel Aviv University, and so on, we took CBT methodologies, cognitive behavioral treatment methodologies, and we translated them to machine learning. So basically our servers in the cloud are running CBT mechanisms and are utilizing the SERF, social, emotional, rational, and financial type of incentives in order to change the behavior. So 3 main solutions that we focused on. The first one is for addictions control. We have developed a system that is called SmokeBeat. With SmokeBeat, we handle smoking cessation, eating disorders, drinking problem, and stuff like that. It's already working in 5 states in the US, in France, in Canada, Turkey, and Israel. And our next product, the one that will be launched on April 2018, is called SafeBeam. It's basically for elderly care. Because until now, most of the elderly care solutions that you've seen, in order to gauge, to understand what is happening with an individual when they are alone, at home, at assisted living, at the nursing home, and so on, is they install beamers or sensors on the walls in the different rooms in order to gauge the movement of the individual, and then there's a panic button and stuff like that. But with our solution, all you need to do is to take, again, a commercial off-the-shelf smartwatch or wristband and to place it on the arm of that elderly person, and that's it. We can tell from data we presented on the enterprise dashboard to the caregiver how much the person is walking, sitting, sleeping, eating, drinking, taking medication. If there is a fall, we know it in real time because of the accelerometer and barometer, and we notify the caregiver. If that person is not taking his medication the entire day, we know that, we notify the caregiver. We even do geofencing with all our solutions. We learn ourselves where is home, where is walk, what is happening while you commute, like you smoke while you're driving. The point of interest, basically, all these places, you know, Friday afternoon, you go with your friends to drink and smoke in a neighborhood bar. So on your way there to that neighborhood bar, we apply incentives and messages and alerts in order to deter you from doing harmful behavior. So same for elderlies. If they are not where they should be or where it's likely that they will be because they are like 10 miles away from their environment, we know that there might be a problem and we alert the caregiver or the home giver or whatever. And the third solution is a solution that will come out only late 2018, is one in which we are using our system in order to gain basically early detection of motor disorders, because we have discovered, working with neurologists, that we can identify the signatures of tremors that are related to motor disorders. So if we already have this wristband, any again type of wristband, or the smartwatch on the arm of the elderly person, we can use it in order to identify the small signatures basically of motor disorders. So the system is used basically serving the 4 P's. Basically, we serve obviously the patient, the physicians, the providers, the clinics, and the payers. Our customers are payers, health insurance companies, our providers, clinics in a few states, and physicians, and also employee benefits programs. We have few cases in Europe and in US where we work with employers and we offer, for instance, SmokeBeat as a solution, as a smoking cessation program for their employees. So the physicians, not only that they get the ability to apply immediate intervention on a person remotely through the enterprise dashboard based on the context of what the person is doing, but that they are also being reimbursed for that. Because now with remote counseling reimbursement codes, they can apply up to 8 times a year and that treatment through our dashboard, and they type in the reimbursement code and they get money for it. For the clinics, what they get is that they have for the first time the ability to know what type of treatment is better. Because take for instance smoking, they have 6 different types of many clinics of smoking cessation treatments. It could be nicotine patches, it could be Somatix pills, it could be inhalers, it could be NCAR, many different things. And until now they were blind. Now with our system, they can see for their entire user base what is working better, like what brings smoking down across their entire user base. And thus they get the efficacy of the, and we have clinical, by the way, trials for that, we have clinical validation with the institutions that we work with, and we publish them. We publish them every 2 months. There is another clinical validation that goes out. Well, and for health insurance companies, it's obviously they're all basically now after dynamic pricing and after the ability to tailor the healthcare plan to the individuals. So that's the first solution, the solution of that is called SmokeBeat. And you can see when we talk with physicians, they tell us that their biggest problem is that they don't have a monitoring tool, an effective monitoring tool, because they see a patient once a month and then they interview the patient. If they are lucky, they are being told the truth, and then they do modifications with the treatment and so on. And this is why, for instance, for smoking, the success rate is only 7%. Permanent cessation rate with the existing methods across the US is only 7% permanent success rate. Whereas with such a system that monitor continuously the smoking of the individual and allows intervention, remote intervention by the physician, by the coach, they get to a 3-4 times higher efficacy. And so I'll skip, this is safe being. Basically, as I mentioned before, we measure what's called ADLs, the activities of daily living, for the individual, and we report everything to the provider, to the caregiver. We even present them like graphs that show them whether there was a deterioration or improvement of that elderly person over the last month. By the way, hospitals are using it in order to, when they release patients, in order to prevent scenarios of readmittance fine, they use the system in order to see that the patient at home, after surgery and so on, is getting better and not being deteriorated. So a lot of publications that you can find us, I don't know, every week there are a few more articles that are being published about it. We won just recently in LA first prize at the 9th Employer Healthcare and Benefits Congress. I saw a few guys here doing all kinds of movements to understand how it works. So maybe just again, it's based basically on, we start with the accelerometer and the gyroscope. So we analyze in real time the 3-dimensional vectors, basically that represent the movement of the hand in space. And then obviously we add more and more data, like the heart rate, if there is a sensor for the heart rate, the galvanic skin response now. Some of the new devices in the market contain galvanic skin response, so we can measure the arousal and the stress basically of the individual and correlate it basically with the context of what the person is doing or the location that the person is currently in. And many other, barometer I've mentioned, and so on. So we have 2 minutes. If anyone wants to ask a question, I can see you later in the meeting room that were mentioned, but any urgent question I can address now. By the way, the difference between a cold drink and hot drink, that's a common question that we are being asked. Think about it. The way that you capture water versus a cup of coffee is very different in terms of how you capture the cup or the bottle, and the speed in which you service it to your mouth is different, and the length of the sip is different, whether it's a cold drink or hot drink. So this allows us to basically know whether you're drinking hot or cold. And same for eating. We can tell whether a person is drinking soup or eating with the chopsticks or cutting solids with a fork or knife. Or snacking. We work with the Midwest Adherence Center, and basically they use it in order to measure snacking of obese adolescents, basically, because we can tell when they snack, how much they snack, and that type of activity. So there are many, many different use cases that this is being used for. Thank you.